Medical units stand by. 30 seconds to contact. 20 seconds. 15. 10. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1.
We got him. Let's go.
Welcome, art aficionados and comic book connoisseurs. Welcome to another episode of Proof of Comics, number 14 this time. I'm joined with my co-host. Hold on, I got my... Oh, our guest is here. Welcome, B.A. Turner, to our Proof of Comics number 14.
How's it going?
It's going great. You saw our first official guest from outside of our little circle of friends here. And yeah, I'm happy to have you here.
I appreciate you guys having me. Thanks.
Yeah, I watched your video today premiering on comic book fundraising and campaigning, and a lot of interesting things in there. And I'm happy to have you here tonight with us so we can talk about some of those things.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, let's continue our little introduction here. I'm joined with my co-host,
a man that I call Bob.
So good.
How you doing? How you doing, Billy Bob Sack?
Doing good. And also, you're going to scare away B.A. Turner with that.
Well, it's like a challenge test. You know, if you can handle our little clips here, he'll be all right for the rest of the show, I think.
If you can handle the Mogwai, you should be good, BA.
Oh yeah, I've been on some interesting streams before, so no worries there.
Okay, cool. We're good then.
And this is our other co-host, Lord Otter. Fear the Weasel.
Squeak, squeak.
There we go. And we're also joined with by Wrangler from Frequency Studios. All right, that's it. No more clips. Starting
Are
the
you
show.
sure?
A whole lot of hola.
Okay, listen, I won't promise anything, but we're done with the intro. So thank you very much.
For now.
For now.
B. Turner, welcome, man. I've been seeing you posting on Twitter and your videos on YouTube and your campaign as well. You've been pretty busy this past year. You're on your second novel. Well, you've got two novels out, and as well as a comic book.
Yep.
How did it all get started for you? Like, what was the beginning of this journey? Did you like decide you wanted to write novels and comics, and then you went looking for a story, or did you have this story in your head and you were like, okay, I need to put it out into the world, and writing and comics is going to be my medium?
Let's see here. I really just stumbled into writing, to be quite honest. The story I always tell folks is, when I was growing up, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, in farm country. There was no comic book shops anywhere nearby, and you never even came across comic books, where I'm from. And so growing up, it was, just sports and working. But once I got into college, it was, I got introduced not only to like the Smallville TV show, but you had just this onslaught, right, of Marvel movies, DC movies. So it was just like this rush of just superhero content. And then I started collecting comics and getting into actually reading comics. And within a couple years of being in college, I started going through this really tough kind of period in my life and just needed some sort of outlet. And I had this idea for a story that involved like just this gargoyle protector overlooking Detroit. Never thought I could do anything with it, but that ended up just being that outlet. Was just one night just sitting down and starting to just write that story, just whatever kind of just came out of my mind. And
Were you
yeah, I
living
ended
at
up
were you living in Detroit at the time, or
suburban Detroit. I went to college and worked all around Detroit in different areas, and spent a good amount of time in downtown Detroit for events and things of that nature. So was definitely familiar with a lot of the area, and so just that, and with the city being known for corruption, whether it's in politics or police, and the Gothic architecture, it was just a very fitting kind of location for the storyline. So yeah, I ended up writing one huge novel initially, and then I split it up into two because it was well over like 170,000 words, and yeah, I ended up initially doing just putting the first book on Amazon like most folks do, but I didn't really put enough attention into the cover art. Again, like a lot of cover art or novelists do initially, and that with the lack of let's see, marketing or even the ability to find your own book on Amazon after it's posted on there. I realized I needed to kind of take a different approach, and I figured, well, let's get hooked up with an artist that could really bring your characters to life and go all out, really invest in the cover art, and then
which
I'm
is
like, well,
freaking awesome, by the way. Like, I love the look of the
thank
comic
you.
book, like the gargoyle, the style. It's got art with good foundation and really awesome style to it. So I think
I'll
it's
say this: I really like the cover for Vigilante's Creed to the point where I started commissioning Corey Barton for
Mhm.
artwork. He is that good. He's very,
Yeah,
very good.
yeah, he is top notch. I mean, and he's one of the few artists that can do line art, can ink and color, can do the whole shebang. That's very
yeah,
hard to
that's
find.
impressive. Yeah, I've been getting into coloring my own stuff as well, so I know what it takes. How did you and Corey uh, like start working together? Like, how did you meet him?
Yeah, so once I made that decision that hey, I'm gonna kind of step away from the Amazon route, gonna try to really invest into a good piece of cover art and potentially do crowdfunding. I just started kind of following some folks in indie comics. And as I followed one, I would find another and another and another that, just seemed like cool folks or had interesting art. and I ended up just stumbling upon him and his brother's campaign for Kozar, which is more of a kind of berserk style comic book, and just the detail of the line art and the cleanness of the colors and how they popped. I just could imagine my characters being drawn in that fashion. They also just had some really kind of brutal and gory looking characters, and I'm like, these guys might be a good fit. And so I reached out to them, and I didn't know which one did line art, which one did coloring, and turns out they both do line art and inking. But Corey could do all three, and so Corey was interested in taking a stab at it, and I mean, he knocked the first cover out of the park right off the bat, and yeah, ended up being like, okay, well, I'm gonna have you do the second cover. And then once I got that itch for art and seeing my characters come to life, I'm like, well, I'm not ready to do a full comic issue. I mean, I wanted to, but obviously it's expensive to do so, and I wanted to build up my following and try to do it in baby steps, not rush it like I did with Amazon the first time. I learned my lesson there, and so I'm like, well, I'll do something different and do a mini comic, which is essentially just a companion comic that introduces you to all the characters, provides you key information about them, and depicts some of the major scenes, just to make it a little more immersive. And so,
So
15 pages of art later, I have my campaign.
is it the same format as a regular comic? It's just less pages, or
No, well, there's panelization, but looks like a typical comic, but instead of having dialogue and, standard text, basically they're like oversized trading cards. So it
oh,
tells you, statistics and key information about the characters and, through lettering, but while depicting some of the major scenes so that the reader's like, oh, yeah, I recognize that scene. And it just helps them visualize, like, this is how all the characters look, and so when they're reading the story, it's more like a film playing out in their mind. They already, have seen the color scheme. They've already seen how all these characters look. So, because with novels, right, folks have to put them down from time to time, unfortunately, because they take a long time to read. And a lot of times, even myself as a reader, I'm trying to piece together, like, how did this character look like, or what did the author tell me about this character? And so this is like that quick kind of cheat sheet, for the visualization side of things and the information, so that you're not distracted by trying to remember things or looking back for things. So,
yeah, art in the books is freaking awesome. I've always loved that growing up, and both of our authors here as well, like Wrangler, you have awesome cover art. Do you have interior art as well, Wrangler?
No, I don't. Just
No.
because one, at the time I did that, I didn't know anybody. The only artist I knew was the cover artist himself, who I contacted on Fiverr, and I got very lucky with him. But also, I wasn't even thinking of crossing that bridge because I was looking at it and like you got to put things in different if you have artwork in the book, and I had no idea how to do that.
mm,
So
Right. But you did, right, Otter? You have a few illustrations in your book.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to know a few artists, and those I didn't know, a few people were very kind to get me acquainted. Mainly Neutron Bore and Umbrella Cap for my book.
mm,
But I'm looking at even a bit more talent with this second book of mine, and well, kind of kind of piggybacking off what you said, I commissioned Corey for some of the art in the second book, and so
mm,
far it's coming along very, very nicely.
yep. And the other thing too is it's not just about having the book, the art in the book or on the cover. It's that, man, you can really stretch that art for marketing, right? Whether it's in-person events or just trying to pitch your book all over the place online, creating trading cards, prints. There's just t-shirts, you name it, right? You can really get a lot of mileage out of your art. And, you see a lot of novelists where you can kind of tell they're not in love with their own art because they're not either sharing it much or they're not putting it to good use. um, or they're just not thinking beyond plopping it on Amazon and hoping that Amazon just generates natural traffic, which is very rare. So it's like folks need to realize, like, even if it's just cover art, like, you can really use that to market yourself, and you have to. I mean, that's what's going to get them to look at the plot. That's what's going to get them to your campaign, or the first page of the Amazon preview is that art. So um, yeah, I think that's an awesome move, Otter, to not only incorporate it on the cover, but utilize it inside. And I see you sharing your cover art and really promoting it online. And the other thing too is it's a huge networking tool, right? You get connected with
Yeah.
an artist that has a lot of followers. Um, they'll promote your book for you because they want to promote their own work naturally. And again, that just grows your reach, gets you more potential backers or buyers. So, and I think a lot of people kind of overlook that
Yeah,
kind of
art is
aspect.
big on marketing
Oh yeah,
because as soon as I met some artists and I got some commissions done for my characters, I started posting them up because I figured that's going to draw people in more than here's a block of text,
Right.
and
Well,
yeah,
as they say, a picture says 1,000 words, and especially whenever you're trying to sell a prose novel, artwork is going to be one of your best ways to actually show what you've got.
Mm-hmm. By the
Yep.
way, is there any artwork from Vigilantes Creed available to put on screen? Because I haven't. I've heard people talking about it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, let me pull up the campaign.
Well, I'm not even familiar with what's his name, Corey Barton.
yep.
I'm not familiar with his artwork yet, so
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me pull it up here. Billy Bob, can I share the link and have you share it on your end, or are you?
I can pull it up even if you want.
Oh, okay, you can pull it up, BA.
Yeah, 1 second here. Yeah, and I ended up, I mean, with it being, tied to a mini comic, I did go the route of having a couple different artists involved. I had Elliot Rodriguez do a print for me. I had Skunk Artworks do a variant cover. And, since I had two novels releasing at the same time, I did a duology version and had Joe Ball, who's really well known for black and white art, do a cover. So, initially I just wanted to do one really cool cover, but I got that itch and had to scratch it and ended up doing quite a few. But it again, it paid for itself quite quickly with all of the marketing opportunities
And
with
and you
it.
have to have things to offer in your campaign as well, right? Because campaigns are a beast in and of itself. And I was looking at your campaign earlier today, and even on Indiegogo, I could see that you yourself have been supporting a lot of indie campaigns in the comic space.
Mhm.
What do you kind of look for campaigns you support, and are any of those campaigns, like, what stood out? Like, what are the most impressive perks and things that drew you to campaigns?
Yeah, I mean it's a mixture. I mean, of course, the campaign's got to look interesting and unique, which just like the mainstream, it's a mixed bag, right? In indie, you have the ones that are really creating unique properties, and then you have the folks that are basically just creating Flash with a little bit different design, right? Or Superman with a different name. But then when it comes to creators, I like to primarily just support creators who help others, right? They're not just in it to just make money. I see them promoting other folks, bringing them on streams like you're doing now. Like, those are the folks that I really try to support because they're supporting other people as well. So it's kind of a mixture of those two things. And and I just, again, I like to help really small creators that, right, if they don't get support, their creation's not going to come to life. So I kind of put a little bit of extra weight on those campaigns versus, right, the guys that are gonna blow their goal out of the water and they have it made. But for those guys, if they have an awesome property and a really cool looking book, like I'm gonna back that too. So some of the really unique ones that have kind of stood out for me is Death, Death, Death by Joe Ball. I mean, that one is a 300-page comic, which is nuts, and I love his art. Um, Joe Sontag's Reaper Destroyer, Aaron C's Immortal Rising, obviously Kozar, as I mentioned, by Corey. There's all the books by Shane Davis. I mean, there's just so many high quality books that are really peering out in the indie community. So there's always a bunch that you want to back.
I believe Jose Garcia is Aaron C's artist, right?
Yep.
I loved Immortal Rising 1. I can't wait for number 2 to come out.
Yep. Yeah, really unique art style, really vibrant colors. And like, I'm not actually much of a manga fan or anime, but he has that style that's just like a really cool blend of like manga and Western comics that I do like.
Yeah, Crimson Ren is also Jose Garcia.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
All right. Can we have a look at that trailer for your campaign there?
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get sound.
Yeah, it's coming through.
I stand corrected. I think I saw it on Comic Shop Wednesday a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been on the show with Royce a few times, and we've seen your posts and excerpts of the video, and it's always looked really cool.
Thank you.
That's very impressive. The kind of like what do you call it? Like, it's like low level animation with the comic book art, so it's like spliced with the background, and you've got like parallax effects, and it almost looks come to life. Very impressive.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, big credit to Von Klaus. Did that trailer. He does a lot of the really good trailers in CG, and he does really good work. So highly recommend him for folks that are looking for something a little bit unique when it comes to trailers. So.
Good evening, Christina. I've just noticed we've had a few comments that I haven't been paying attention tonight. Hey, Tenkage, how you doing, man?
So yeah, that trailer gives you a pretty good feel for some of the art there, and then this is again kind of the style of the pages here, where on some of them you do have some panelization, but the focus is on just introducing the characters, kind of giving key information about them, and then the reader will clearly be able to know, like, or remember this scene from the book.
Looks like a bodybuilding Elithid.
Yep. Yep.
He's got that Cthulhu face happening there.
He's a swole flayer.
Yeah.
Did you produce any trading cards as well, having these images kind of in the card kind of format?
Yeah. So every order comes with one free trading card by Corey Barton. And then there's also the option to add on some Joe Ball trading cards, which you can see on the right side in his black and white art.
Nice.
I'll definitely, when I get to my first comic issue and that campaign in the future, I'll definitely start like a trading card collection. Because those are definitely fun to make.
Man.
And
I've been getting into that as well. Like, I'm just getting my campaign ready for the first time. So I'm getting all that artwork geared up, and one of those is a trading card concept, and it is. I never thought I'd have this much fun designing a trading card, man. It is really thrilling when you're holding them tiny little things in your hand. And I've been basing mine off of the Marvel cards. I think I got one here, and they have like all this little data.
Mhm.
Thanks, Billy Bob. In the back with stats and all that, and I want to be able to reproduce that with a little bit of a bio and a quote, and
Mhm.
they just look freaking gorgeous, man. I'm in love
Mhm.
with
Yep.
these.
Was that
Yeah.
from the first generation of Marvel cards?
I think those, yes, they. I think they could
Those
be.
were just gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah. That's she's a superhero. Oh no, I think this is the second one. I've got the first one here with
Or it was probably one of the best looking representations of the Punisher in the first go around of them.
I prefer
Nice.
this bar graph kind of.
Yeah, I like
And
those.
I've seen like other creators, like Renee Draws does whole stats for her
Mhm.
characters as well, like that you can introduce in role playing games.
Mhm.
It's crazy how creative you can get when you're indie. Like you're small, so you can do all the crazy decisions that you can effectively manage yourself, because
Mhm.
that's kind of the hard part as well. Like you have to do everything yourself when
Yep.
you're a one man team, right? BA, like so. What part of the process like do you get the most pleasure, or like do you have to most struggle through? Like what are the kind of how do you see the whole creative part? Because you've been through your first campaign, right? You're just coming out of it, or it's been over, it's
It
ended.
it's yeah, the 60 days ended last October. I'm just been in demand, so now it's basically just a storefront. But I mean, honestly, marketing and finding the time to do the rush of streams in the first 60 days, that's the most difficult thing. Um, but it's also ends up being the most rewarding if things go well. Probably the biggest pain in the ass was Photoshop. I did all the formatting for the mini comic and for the covers myself, the lettering and all of that. Which that part, once you get used to it, it's not difficult. But let's just say the size of the files that are required to maintain that quality of art is not small, and
Right.
so I ended up having issues with the size of files and then memory space on my computer freezing, and then like, oh, you went and printed your first couple samples of your comic, and oh, one of the files was not the right file because it's just that's juggling all of the files and all of that is that was the most difficult part, really.
Oh, damn. I was watching a stream with Shane Davis, I think it was
Mhm.
last night, and he was still like asking questions like, okay, I hope my next project comes out well with the printer. And I was like,
Mhm.
whoa, man, even a seasoned professional who's been through it a few times still has questions whether or not like everything's going to go numero uno, or things going to be fine with the printer and all that. Cause that's been one of my concerns, because
Mhm.
I've done a lot of coloring, but most of the stuff that I've done was just digital, or I've been handing off to somebody else after that.
Mhm.
And I've got fears in terms of, okay, is this RGB going to convert to CMYK? Okay. Is the colors going to be like drastically different? How is it going to look when it's on paper?
Mhm.
And because I did have a submission to Anvil come out, and it looked good, but the colors came out way darker than I thought. Like I wanted to have a character
Mhm.
look really dark, and I went a little overboard with it. And what looked fine on screen with full full lighting turned out a bit too dark on the page. So now I'm kind of
Mhm.
watching my step around those values. Did you have any surprises with the printers, or did that go well?
It was a mixed bag. I mean, my printer was really cooperative and really good customer service, and so my initial fulfillment got pushed back by a couple weeks because the first print run there was issues with the lamination. So I got the books right. I got everything ready. I'm gonna pack and ship, and then all of the covers had weird lamination marks, and so I was like, okay, gonna rerun them, and they improved, but they still were not good enough. For me, it's like for crowdfunding campaigns, right? They got to be perfect. People are paying a bit of a premium, and so again, had to delay it a little bit, and then I was like, okay, I wanted to have the glossy covers, but then I'm like, you know what? The printer I had, they have like a soft touch lamination, which is a little bit different than the matte lamination, so the colors pop a bit more. But again, it's soft touch, doesn't you press on it with a you don't get fingerprints, things like that. So I'm like, you know what, gonna give it a shot, and ended up absolutely loving that lamination type, and ended up doing that with my prints and everything. So that mistake ended up being kind of a blessing in disguise, because after that, I never had any print issues on any of the comics or the cards or anything like that. So, um, but I have heard some nightmare stories of printers not taking responsibilities for bad print runs, or for alignment on pages, things of that nature. So, definitely recommendation to folks is don't just look at a couple samples within a large print run. Like, you got to really either check all of them if you can, or have a good chunk of books to inspect, because you could look at the first 25 and they're all perfect, and then you look at the next batch and they're all have an issue. Like, it really can vary in one print run. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
And
definitely good to know about. I You hear that more and more when it comes to indie creators.
Mhm.
A lot of printer issues that do add up over time. So it's
Yeah.
definitely something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and Amazon for me was a nightmare. With the template and everything for the cover art. Every time I printed the book, the alignment was different. I had one time I had ordered 400 books because I had a couple conventions. All of the text was slanted, and I'm like, how do you not? It felt like whatever printer, because they have multiple printers, I'm sure. Like, they didn't even do a quality check at all. They just printed all 400, didn't even look at them, and shipped them. And I open them up, and it's just all like really slanted, and it's like, then you got to deal with returning them and all that. And so it's, yeah, you hear some horror stories, but it seems like when it comes to comics, and I actually printed my novels, I found a place that could do the novels and the comics, which was really convenient. Um, and I never had any of those issues with slanted text and things of that nature. So just make sure, for anybody out there, get some samples printed in advance. Don't go right into a mass print or anything like that. And talk to other people, find out who they're working with, and try to get some recommendations. Not just from a quality perspective, but also cost, because cost can really vary from printer to printer. And you don't want to do a campaign thinking it's going to be one cost to print, and then it ends up being much higher, and then you're hurting in the end. So,
right, right. I've already like kind of found a printer here because I'm here up here in Canada,
mhm.
and I'm curious, like, how did you go about finding your printer? Did you shop around for a couple? Did you get a good referral from a friend, or
Yeah, I got referrals from a couple people for a few different printers, and I luckily most of them have online quote tools, so you can at least compare the costs and see which one's more competitive, see which one, for me, I didn't want to have different printers for the novels and for the comics. There's very few printers that do both.
right?
So that really narrowed it down naturally. But one of those referrals happened to do both. So it worked out well in that sense. So that
Were
when
they
I uploaded the whole project, I literally uploaded every single print file, every trading card file, novel file, comic file. So I wasn't juggling different printers
well, okay,
and
wow. So they did all the merch that was printed. They handled. That's kind of cool.
yeah, 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 it worked out really well. So, but yeah, it definitely, people need to expect that there's going to be a good amount of research. If again, you're going to work with your own printer or sticker company or whatnot, and t-shirts, you name it, folks do a lot of different merch on some of these campaigns versus, in a way, some novelists have it easy with just relying on Amazon. If again, Amazon prints a good book, but you do have that issue too of how much of the sales price they keep, which is quite hefty. So if folks can get a pre-established following and even a decent amount of people that will purchase your book, you have a much better chance of recovering your costs if you go the crowdfunding route. And even if it doesn't raise much, I mean, you don't lose anything. Um, if you've done your calculations right and everything, your pricing, but um, it does take a long time, and you got to sell a lot of books to recover your costs if you're going through Amazon or such.
Yeah, I've been hearing other people talk about especially the campaign around the crowdfunding. You got to be like out there promoting your book like every day on podcasts, on Twitter, just putting the message out and all that. It seems like it's very involved. It's kind of intimidating. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of ways that you can go about it. I mean, obviously, for comics, I found Twitter to be the best resource in terms of marketing, as well as finding sales. I mean, I probably got at least 30%, if not more, 40% of my backers directly from Twitter, from making posts on there, posting or replying to some of the promotional tweets that some of the folks do. Versus Facebook, it was just like pointless. A lot of the groups there, and a lot of times you'll post even to friends and they don't even see it. Like the algorithms are so much different. Um,
Yeah, I saw that you were also like Twitter verified. Is that something that's worth it in your mind? Because I've been considering it a lot.
I yeah, for me it was because I try to pack a lot into a single tweet. Um, and again, like you guys were talking about earlier, if you just put text in there, they get your post gets scrolled by most of the time, right? There has to be either a quote tweet or some sort of picture or meme or something to get people to slow down to read it. And without the check mark, I mean, the amount of characters you can put into a tweet is so minimal that you couldn't even really pitch your book. You're relying on folks to be pulled in enough to then go into the comment section and continue to read. So it's nice to have that amount of character space to really pitch your book or your characters or your video, you name it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
because when you're verified, you can also do your video out there, and you have your own YouTube channel and all that. Have you been pushing your videos through YouTube as well? Through Twitter, sorry.
I haven't uploaded any directly to Twitter. I've tried a couple times, but unless they've changed it, the quality is always like 360 or super super low, to where it annoys me to even put it on there because to me like I can't stand you upload a trailer and it's all fuzzy and low quality and you're like no, I'm just gonna just do YouTube. um, but that's the other aspect of it is I didn't have a YouTube presence for the first campaign. I just joined streams, but my goal is to build a YouTube channel, live stream, things like that, because a lot of the bigger, indie names, they're generating a lot of sales just from their own streams and their own videos. And so, that's one avenue that if you can kind of pre-build that a bit, that can generate sales, on top of Twitter and Instagram and all of that. So, but it's a lot of time online. I hate it, but I love it at the same time. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, man. Like you can't like well, first of all, I want to say welcome, James. James Esparza joins us.
Heyo, friends. Heyo. I'm glad to
Heyo.
have a conversation as always.
Yeah, we're talking with author and comic book creator B.A. Turner tonight.
Oh, nice, nice. I actually just picked up a book on mysteries, how to write mysteries from the American, I believe it's Mystery Writers of America. For some reason, I thought it was a society. And it actually has a portion in here about how to write comic book mysteries, written by a comic book artist. Every section's written by a specific type of mystery writer who focuses in on that thing. So,
oh, dude, you're gonna have to do like a Cliff's Note video or something and talk about that. I'm like super curious.
Definitely.
Super curious. Oh
yeah. So what do we got going on here?
Yeah, we're looking at BA's campaign here, and he's been helping us, teaching us a little bit, because Otter and I want to start our own campaign as well. And then we were talking about the value of marketing and pushing that, and YouTube channels as well. Like, this is why we're here as well. Like, I was just seeing other artists doing art streams, and I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world, man. You're hanging out with your friends while you're drawing. Like, that is the best thing. And that's kind of how I got into it as well. And I'm seeing all the other artists, and they're attracting a following on there. It's a way to communicate. It's a way to generate sales. It's a way to, be at the top of forefront of people's minds every day if you're streaming every day. So it's like super useful now. It's like one of the main ways to get in contact with new readers.
Yeah, and doing your own channel is actually, believe it or not, seems to be far more effective than running those skipping 5-second commercials on YouTube. I a couple times tried running commercials that way, and out of both campaigns, I did 3 campaigns so far, and out of all of them, I think I moved 1 unit.
Yeah.
I've moved more just from getting on screen and yapping, which surprises me. But
yeah, no,
More
I feel the
relatable
same
that way. Yeah, and I think that actually is probably because like a stream is going to bring in somebody who's probably already kind of interested in whatever it may be about, and then they find out there's an appropriate product out there for them to purchase, like this one, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think we're looking at, like, there's a big question of trust nowadays online, and like seeing an ad, I'm like, first of all, I've got ad blockers, so I'm not even watching them, and second of all, like, I've got kind of a reflex of not trusting things that are coming from corporations or big. And it's when I have a connection with somebody, like a friend recommends something, it has 10 times more value. I'll trust a good friend that has good taste above seeing an ad. Well, if it's really good, it's really good.
Nice.
But,
Speaking of
I don't want to
advertisement,
completely poo-poo the commercial thing, though, because James, that commercial that you made got more views than any other commercial I tried to run. So it was at least catching eyes.
yeah, commercials help, man. Commercials help. And even if you were to bring them in at the end of your stream or at the beginning of your stream before you start, that could be a great way to expose that. And speaking of advertisements, I see here it says Joe Ball trading card set. I love trading cards. What's that all about?
Yeah, so my let me scroll down to here. I decided to do a duology version for my novels because it is one full story arc. And I'm like, it'd be nice to offer a more affordable option too for folks, right? When you're eliminating one print run, you're not printing in color, you can jam it into one book. It is, a more affordable option. But I also was like, I want to do a unique black and white cover. You don't see that a lot when it comes to novels. And, Joe is a good friend of mine now, and just his art was, again, just like Corey's, like, it just spoke to me. I'm like, that is one guy I need to have do a cover for me, or, do some art for my characters. And so he did this piece, which what's cool about it is that it works in both directions. So if you turn it upside down, it also has action going that way. So it introduces all the characters, and there's some symbolism in there, obviously, with the cross and whatnot. So, but I also wanted to have like a line art variant for the mini comic.
Just black and white is just gorgeous. You have to
Yep.
have like an art version.
Yeah,
Does your
I
art
love that
version have?
cover.
Oh, sorry, Otter. I didn't mean to
No,
step
no,
on you.
no. I was just trying to butt in a comment. I freaking love that cover so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I was like, I wanted to have, I loved all the line art, tied to my project. So I'm like, what, I'm going to have, again, a more affordable option, just print the mini comic all in virgin art. And so I did that.
So
And
the art book does not have any text, correct?
correct. The art book is
Yeah.
just pure, virgin art.
Right.
Yep.
Awesome.
And so Joe Ball did also some sketch cards for me here. And I was like, you know what? I want to get this art in front of more folks. I know a lot of people really enjoyed his art in my campaign. So I turned that art also into just some trading cards as well, similar to the trading card that I give away for free in the campaign. So, this is also as an add-on, which most people just tack it on at the end of their order because doesn't add any shipping, and it's just $5. So
Yeah.
just again, just utilizing whatever art you have for different purposes, for merch, for marketing, make it, use it for extra mileage. And so that's what I did with his art here.
One piece of art can go on so many different things.
Mhm. Yep. I mean, I use this for 2 different products, and a lot of people bought the black and white line art version of the comic, and a lot of people picked up the duology version of the novel specifically to have that cover. And then if you have an artist like, Corey does things digitally, so you can't sell the original line art, unfortunately. But
Right.
with Joe, he does it traditionally, just like you're doing. And so I was able to sell the original, art piece to make my money back and then some. So it's like literally free cover art. That's the one thing that can be really amazing about a crowdfunding campaign is you can literally sell the art, make the money back to where you don't have that stress of, recovering the cost because somebody just bought it from you, and then you're making money off of the items that have that art. So
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah,
that's
that's
not something you
absolutely
can do on
wonderful.
Amazon. So
Yeah.
Yep. And black and white art is way cheaper than colored art is too. So to sell black and white, something original black and white, you could, it really increased the price.
mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Definitely looks excellent.
So what kind of where are you at kind of in the process right now? Are you like preparing future stories? Are you continuing work on bringing it to life at the comic? I guess that's at the forefront of your mind right now, right?
Yeah, right now I'm about 12 pages deep into my comic script. So the plan is to do around a 40-page floppy in the next year and a half. So yeah, going to be hitting the ground running here. So just converting the 2 novels into floppies, and potentially maybe into graphic novel format way down the line. But the story's already done. It's just a matter of translating it. So I'm going to be working with some fantastic artists, but also a co-writer, right? Someone that has experience writing comics,
Oh,
because it is
interesting.
not, it's not an easy um, change, right? Going from novels to comics, there's a lot of dynamics to it, and I want to make sure that I'm taking my time and crossing my T's, dotting my I's, versus just assuming like, hey, I can do this. Not saying that I couldn't, but I'd rather make sure that it's the best story possible, translated the best way possible. So I'm going to be teaming up with someone that has a lot of comic book writing experience.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you're going from one medium to another. And I've translated a screenplay in the past. But my first professional gig as a comic book artist was that with my client had a screenplay. He wanted to eventually turn it into a movie,
Hmm.
but he was going the way of the comic book to put it out there and have it read the story. So I was working straight from a screenplay, and I
Hmm.
had to cut that up into chapters and then pages and scenes. And my favorite thing was like figuring out, okay, what's going to be the page turn, right? Because in comics it's always about like you're most of the time you're looking at 2 pages, and so it's easy to fit your scenes into there. You can have like a color scheme that fits into the 2 open pages at once. You can have one thing pointing to the other. There's so much stuff you can do. Like it's quite a world. Have you ever read How to Read Comics by Scott McCloud, I think it's called? Are you familiar with that work?
No,
I
no, I
would
haven't.
I would highly recommend that one. It's a really well done work, and it's a comic book as well.
Mm.
And he sort of breaks down like within the American, the European, and the Japanese manga world, like all the kind of visual language of comics. And he does such a great job of it that especially where you're at translating from one medium to another, I would highly recommend that one.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I'm right now in the process of reading Alan Moore's like kind of how to read or write comics book,
Yeah, I
which
have that one. Yeah.
he's yeah. I mean, that's that's obviously he's a master of his craft, but
Yeah.
he's like Frank Miller as well, one of those comic writers that also writes novels. So it's really cool how he breaks down, right, the differences between the two mediums, but also how do you can incorporate the best of both worlds when writing a comic. And so that's super relevant to what I'm doing. So yeah, there's a lot of resources out there for folks beyond just reading comics or reading novels, that can help them along the way. So
Yeah, one of the crazy things I've read of Alan Moore's was a chapter on Horshack during the
mm,
series of uh, what's it called again? 5th of
Watchmen.
November. No, the
Oh,
5th.
V
Was
for
it? Oh yeah,
Vendetta.
Horshack is Watchmen. I was
Yeah,
mixing my
he's
stories
Watchmen.
there.
Yep.
And so he took the whole like floppy, I think it's 22 pages or something, and he turned it into a mirror basically. So the front page is the mirror panel. I'm talking about panel layouts here. So
Mhm.
the same panel layout on the front and back page, and then it goes the same until you meet in the middle.
Hmm.
So there's crazy ways to have fun with the medium that you can break usual conventions and
Yep.
get out of just your story and just play with the actual medium. That can be a whole lot of fun.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't always have that at the forefront of my mind, but it's really cool to revisit kind of that language as well, the visual language.
Mhm. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, right now, I've been, meeting with my artist and just kind of reviewing the initial part of the comic script and, thinking of panelization ideas. And, we're already, vibing on like, a similar idea for one of the chapters of, kind of bringing pieces of the panels together, right, as that chapter's coming along, that ties into some symbolism in that chapter, to where, people will read it, and then when they'll hit that scene, they'll be like, oh, I see what they've been doing this whole time, just something that, it you can try to do in prose verbally, but it's just such a different dynamic when you can actually do it visually as well. So it's fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can even hide things in drawings like that. In
Hmm.
prose, I guess every word gets written because you're going through it linearly. But in a drawing, you can hide things in the background. You can where's Waldo
Hmm.
some things and play around with that as well.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Awesome, man. And what is it like working with the relationship with the artists? Like, do you have a whole lot of back and forth, or what kind of what's the process working with the artist?
Yeah, I mean, working with Corey on the novel covers and the mini comic, is I'm the type that, I was sending a ton of reference material. I would actually kind of make collages on in a PowerPoint to really break down like, hey, this is how I'd like the character's face to look like. This is how I would like the bones that protrude from his eyebrows to look like. I mean, every detail I could think of where I could find reference material, I would. And I'd put it together, put it in a presentation so that he knew exactly how I imagine these characters, give him ideas for layouts, to where he could just kind of plug and play, give me a couple of options for layouts, and then we would just stream and kind of walk through it and decide how we would continue. And one thing I appreciated about him and all the guys that I worked with is they would show me every kind of step along the way. So I'd probably see upwards of 10 versions of the line art as he's progressing, so that if I saw something I'd want to change, I could let him know right earlier, rather than later. And it was just great to you know see it progress. Same thing with the colors. So just a lot of Twitter messaging back and forth, and then hopping on a stream from time to time to talk about some of the stuff we're working on. But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too, is get referrals for art, talk to folks, don't be trigger happy per se, because yeah, there are artists out there that will just take your written breakdown and some reference material, and they'll just do a cover, right, to where they don't even give the person that's commissioned the art a chance to see the progress, to make
Right,
changes.
right.
So, if
For
you're
me,
going to
it's
do a
kind of
big
the
project, and you
it's
gotta.
kind of the mark of a good artist, in my opinion, is
Mhm.
if they're communicating well and showing you the progress. For me, that's part of being a good commissioned artist, is that there's that cooperation going on.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely.
It's funny. I think he gives more, even more than I do, and I thought I was giving, like, because I usually give the thumbnails. Usually, I have a variety of thumbnails that I let the client choose from, and then I'll give steps during the pencils, especially like before inking. Like if there's any final touch ups to do, the pencils is the best place to do it.
Mhm.
But also like during the layout. Okay, here's the position. Here's the the way it's going to be shaped, the dynamism, the shape it has on the page, and all that. And
Mhm.
then obviously, then it's when it's done inking. That's the best part.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Yep. And then yeah, the other thing too is, being a writer and not being able to do my own, line art and coloring and all that. I think it's important too that let people know about the good experiences that you had with artists, so that you can help other writers and creators hook up with those artists, make sure that they can, do this as a full-time gig, which will free up even more time for them to do commissions. And, they're really going to appreciate when they get referrals as a result of you. And so, you know, help other creators prevent some of those nightmare stories. And,
For sure. Yeah.
just, I think, it's always good to just let people know when you've had a good experience with someone. Just bring them more money, and, help other creators have a better experience, so that they're not struggling. So,
That, that's awesome. Um, a lot of food for thought there.
mm.
Another question I have in relation with the artists is: have you found that any of the art that's been coming back? Have you found any of the art to influence the story in or like give you additional ideas or open? Because sometimes artists will draw they'll always draw their own vision of what you request, right? So there's always a discrepancy between what the writer will imagine and then what the artist will put on the page. So have you ever had any like surprises that kind of like spark your imagination?
Oh, for the comic book scripting, for sure. And the other thing too is, if you really team up with an artist that wants to be really involved in the process of the writing or creating the comic, they'll bring forth some ideas that you might not even think of, as a writer. And that's something I'm, experiencing at the moment, where they've added, just elements to, um, like the super soldiers in the book that are under mind control, like some effects that you could have on the eyes, or some symbolism, right? To again lay some Easter eggs for the reader, that again I didn't really think of when I was doing the prose novel, but now that again it's going to be in a visual form, it's like, oh yeah, this could really um, kind of embellish some of those aspects of the story and make it that much more intriguing. And after I've seen some of this artwork, it has expanded kind of, some of the ideas that I've had for the stories, and even elements of it that I want to modify, because I can go even harder on some of the aspects with the art, versus trying to explain everything in prose. So yeah, it's a lot of fun moving it into a more visual medium.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I have another question in terms of like the whole translation to a comic as well. Because as an artist, like I'm writing my own script in my own personal project,
Mhm.
and one of the things I wanted to put in was like I want to make sure that I have at least in my first chapter, or in every chapter, I want to have a nice action scene. I want to make sure that
Mhm.
my comic has like always a nice action scene. So you always feel that there was some moment of dynamism in the book, as well as the essential story aspects, character development, and all that. So
Mhm.
do you think of those things when you're doing the translation, or are you like changing things around to for the visual medium, what are your thoughts basically on that translation aspect? Is my question, I guess.
Yeah, it's a mixture of being a challenge, but also being a lot of fun. Initially I struggled a bit because it's like, man, I gotta get rid of so much dialogue that I just loved from the book, or some of the details that you just don't have the page real estate right to expand on. And so, that was really hard to trim down. But as you study more comics, right? Not just read them for fun, but when you're actually studying them as you're creating your own, you start to pick up on ways to really, tell more of the story through the art. And then you try to marry that with just having a healthy flow, right? Making, like you said, making sure there's action throughout the different sections of the comic, and using elements such as inner monologue, right? There's some books that really rely on narration when it comes to comics, that rely on dialogue, but then there's stories like The Dark Knight Returns that really relies on inner monologue, which I really appreciated. And so you have to kind of figure out, what's the best fit for you so that you can get enough detail into the story, make sure that the art and the dialogue is impactful, and that the reader can have a connection to not just the scene but the characters themselves, especially the one that has the POV in certain scenes. So it's yeah, sometimes when I'm sitting down and writing, I find it where I'm just struggling trying to trim, but then other days when I sit down, it's just super exciting, when you're elaborating on those ways to really make it kind of exciting through the visual aspect versus just dialogue. And sometimes it's a blend. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I'm just staring at the artwork as you're talking, and I'm like, this is freaking awesome. And it, I'm glad to see how more artists here in America to do the whole artwork from one step to the other. Like, because it used to be, especially in traditional like Marvel and DC corporate comics, like it's much more of a like you're part of the you're part of a cog in the machine. You're doing one aspect of it and you're shuffling it quickly to the other one. And the Europeans, man, they take their time. Like they do one album per year, and they'll do
Mhm.
all the art. And the same person who has the vision for the pencils is the same one that'll put the blacks and the colors. So he has his vision fully realized from start to finish. And I think that you can reach a lot more artistic expressiveness. I mean, not to devalue like a great team of artists working together, but
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of value in having one artist do the whole picture and get his vision out there.
Mhm. Yeah, and it also limits. I don't want to. Well, potential mistakes or extra work, right? Because how a book or how a page gets inked has an impact on how the colorist can manage the page. Same when it comes to the amount of detail that's put into the art, and being able to properly marry the color, the line art, and the inking can be a challenge. And then you have back and forth between all your different artists, or you're the filter that's then trying to pass information along from one to the other. So it does streamline things for sure. And it definitely, I'm sure, made it easier for Corey to again just make the adjustments, knowing, right, this is how I'm going to color this page. So I'm going to do the line art in this fashion, or the inking. So that's definitely an advantage, and it's a cost advantage, as well. Typically, when you can have one person do all of it. But again, it depends too, right? Because there may be artists out there that can do more detailed line art that specifically just do line art. So there's advantages and disadvantages, across the board when it comes to different artists and different styles. So it's really just figuring out what's the best fit for your project,
For
which is not
sure.
easy.
Yeah, for sure. It's always a question of trade-offs and finding the look that you want for your product and your story.
Mm,
And
mhm.
we're at an hour mark here, and I want to be respectful of your time. BA, and you're welcome to stay on if you want to hang out and talk, but I want to be respectful and give you a window if you want to get back to work and do what you got to do. But I'm super grateful for you to come by here and hanging out and sharing your wisdom and experience, having gone through your campaign and all that. And I want
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you asking me to come on, and yeah, I mean, I'm not really limited by time tonight, but you know, one thing I try to do with my YouTube channel, which I mean, there's unfortunately not a lot of channels doing it because, well, the videos they don't bring views because they're not linked to drama or any of that stuff. But I'm trying to do videos just sharing my experiences so that some of the folks can learn from my mistakes. Kind of tied to my experience when I just rushed and put it on Amazon. That can learn from my experience when it comes to working with different comic artists and trying to market things like that. Because yeah, I mean, if you don't get connected with the right folks or you are just brand new to the scene and you have no idea what to do, it's overwhelming. And a lot of folks will jump in head first, crack their head open, and then they give up. Um, and I flirted with that idea as well when I had just tossed it on Amazon, and I'm just like, man, you don't know what to do. When you have no following and Amazon's not doing anything to help you, you're like, I mean, what do I do? And it's a game of patience, but it's a game of also just breaking out of your comfort zone, networking with folks, and yeah, hop on YouTube and find the creators that are sharing their experiences so that you can learn from them. And of course, I want my book to inspire others and to make them feel something positive, but it's like I also want my experience with crowdfunding and creating these books to maybe help others overcome some barriers or prevent them from having some of the negative experiences that creators have out there. Because yeah, that's what helped me. Watching some of these creators on YouTube, listening to their live streams, really helped me create my plan on how do I transition away from Amazon, get a killer piece of cover art, market it, and run a successful campaign. Because if I would have just tossed this up on Indiegogo and done none of that studying, none of that networking, it wouldn't have mattered how good the art was. Nobody would have saw it. I mean, not to say that that can't happen, but unfortunately, outside of sometimes with Kickstarter, like natural traffic is a lot of times a ghost.
right.
People say that it happens, but a lot of people don't experience it. So,
It can be real tough sometimes, that's for sure.
mhm.
I I mean, I can sympathize at least to some extent. Like I had no idea what to do with in my case until I had started getting on the Twitter scene, interacting with indie creators who were nice enough to hear me out.
Mhm.
And I think that's what it really comes to a lot of the time is getting your foot in the door. It almost depends on finding these indie creators who already do have a bit of a foot in the scene, who
Mm,
are also cooperative enough to lend a helping hand. And I think that's why it's so important. So I absolutely agree with you.
mhm. Yeah, and it's Twitter's a shit storm. It's a
It's a
jungle.
necessary evil.
It's an enigma. You're going to come across some great folks that want to help people that will spend some time giving you, tips and tricks, and then you're gonna stumble across trolls that just want to do whatever they can do to make you look bad, and then you gotta navigate. Well, who do I respond to? Do I respond to? And
That's when you know
uh,
you've really made it, when you have your own trolls. You're like, all right, mom, I
Yeah.
made it.
I did it, mom. I
My
am
own
yeah,
controlled.
haters.
yeah, and it's weird. It's weird when you do get some haters because you're like, me, really? Like, there's such bigger targets out there. I don't get it, but yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. But yeah, it
The
it
weirdest part
does.
is whenever it's with over like the smallest things, you're like, why are we even fighting? And, I don't get it.
Yeah, I know, and a lot of times,
That's because you're a
everyone's
target, Otter.
Oh, fuck you, Billy.
That's one.
Well, I think everyone sees it. There's a tribalism aspect as well in indie comics with some folks, and there's a huge issue with guilt by association. And it's like, well, you know what? I
It's
get that, some folks may not like someone that I hang out with, but you know what? That person has literally given me those tips and tricks. And it's like, you know what? I'm not going to disassociate with some people just because of fear of being trolled. But,
yeah, that's
you
why
know,
the whole
Yeah, I
cultish
completely
mentality,
understand that.
the
crazy.
like the forced disconnection of relationships. Like, don't tell me not to talk to somebody. Like,
Yeah.
I'll decide by myself on a case per case basis, and it's because when you start disconnecting because of associations, where does it stop?
Well, it gets to a certain point where you're just burning bridges, and I think that's the
Mhm.
real danger of it. And it's like
Yeah.
it comes to a point where it's like you need those connections to survive, especially as an indie creator.
Yeah.
The more fights end up going on between different creators, it doesn't matter who or what quote unquote side it is. It's a destructive force for everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely everyone involved.
Yeah, and you see a lot of unfortunate cases of folks that can't, separate the art from the artist either. And there are some creators I'm not a fan of, but I'm not going to judge the folks that like those creators because of that, right? I'm not going to stop supporting them, look at them differently. Like, hey, to each their own. But yeah, you see folks that just aren't. It's like, man, you don't like my favorite creator, like you're done. Like I'm going out of my way to speak bad of you, things like that. And it's like, but they don't do that with the mainstream, right? It's like
No,
there's
but
still people going to see films made by people that don't have your political ideology, that may approve of things that you absolutely despise, but it's like, oh nope. But when it comes to the indie scene, I draw a really bold line, and it's like, come on, folks. We
I think it
all
has to do with the marketing aspect of the indie scene, because the pros they got their marketing pushed by the company, right? Whereas we indies, we got to put ourselves out there, and part of that is being on stream, and part of that is
Yep.
talking about current events. And sooner or later, your opinion is going to be out there, and it's going to be known, especially if you're authentic and you're reacting to what's going on. Like it's your kind of view or worldview is gonna be revealed in one way or the other. So I think it's unfortunate, but I think you're gonna have people who are like drawing a line in the sand, in the same way that some people will support you because of your views, right? You'll be like, oh yeah, this dude he's got the same opinion on me on this thing that's very important to me, and I'll buy his comic. I might not even read it, and there's that aspect as well.
Yeah, it's a catch-22. It's like you can either try to make everyone happy, make everyone like you, which is impossible, or you just be yourself, and you're going to have people that are going to hate you for it, but you're also going to have people that really support you for it. So it's like, I'd rather just be myself and let the cards kind of fall, whether it's good or bad.
For sure,
What are you
time will
talking
tell.
about, BA? I can make everyone happy about who I am.
Don't listen to him. He's a weasel. Okay, his cuteness is deceptive. It's weaponized cuteness.
I think
not
the
Like
listening.
Puss in Boots.
Avatar does help though.
Don't listen to him.
He's devious.
He's
I tell
lying
you.
to you.
I mean, come on, people can't abuse animals, right? They start abusing you, they associate it with animals, and it's like you got a good easy out there,
Yeah. I
Well,
look like the
either
bad guy
way, this
attacking
otter
the
is
otter
not
here.
endorsed by PETA. That's the one organization I could not please. So yeah. So it is what it is. This
Speaking of
water weasel, he finds a way.
endorsement, now is a good time to play our little ad segments here.
Steel and Stormbright, The Curse of the Star Wraiths, an exciting sword and sorcery adventure about two brothers trying to make their way in a harsh world. Link in the description.
That's right. That was Lord
Squeak,
Otter's
squeak.
book. Yeah. And
Nice.
the promo is done by our friend here, Wrangler from Frequency, who also has a book out.
Haley and Elizabeth are back, and this time, the Spuds are really going to fly. Bad Kitty, Haley's World. Link in the description.
There you go. And let's not forget our friend James here.
The undead are planning to attack, and it's up to Gwendolyn the gnome to deliver word to the humans before they're taken by surprise. Glimmerleaf, link in the description.
Yay for me.
Cool.
Got a great team here.
Actually, I feel like an underachiever when I see the commercial that James made for me, and it was awesome. And then I have just that little quick blurb one for him.
Did I see that? I don't know if I saw the. Did I see the commercial that James made for you? Did you
Show him the
Probably.
commercial, Bobby.
Yeah, pull it up. Let's
Pull
go.
it up.
Show it.
Share some.
Yeah, you got it, Frequency, because I make so much stuff that my files are just bloated. I couldn't find it if I tried to.
Let's have a little art moment while you pull up that file.
So Mignola sticks Hellboy in front of the window for a nice bit of negative space. He leaves out some colored lines to hint at the shape of a window, adds some very interesting background details, and covered everything else in black. This is, of course, not the only way to draw focus to the stage.
My guilty pleasure clip.
So beautiful.
I feel so mean, like pointing out her pronunciation, because like I'm always surrounded by French people, because she has an awesome video on Mignola.
It was an unfortunate matter of circumstance.
But it makes me smile so much when I see it. Am I evil for that?
Probably brought her a ton of clicks. I'm sure she's not mad about it. I might need to slip up some of the things I say on accident for that. I don't know.
I hope so. I hope. You don't want to, make people mad unwillingly, because sometimes like being on a video on YouTube, it feels like hanging out with your buddies and you don't realize that. Okay.
Not unwillingly, but on purpose can be a lot of fun.
Yes. You want to be able to control that. All right. Do you have the video pulled up there, Wrangler?
Yep, just located it. I'm working on the share screen portion right now.
All right. Let's have a little moment for the Second Amendment.
You missed me.
Wow.
You
course
shoot
I
like
did.
stormtroopers, and I'm still standing here even though I'm a red shirt.
It's because we don't have any guns in Canada. It's
the
one thing we're lacking is a Second Amendment.
a little out of practice then.
Yeah, well, I still did practice when I was younger. My dad was in the military and he took me out shooting a few times, but it's not the same rules. Like you can't carry over here, and if you get caught with anything small like a pistol, that's not a good thing. Like only hunters are kind of tolerated carrying their weapons around.
Yeah, I noticed you use the term tolerated.
Yeah, because you still got to jump through hoops and you got to watch out. And there's a bunch of they're trying to tighten the rules to make it harder and harder. They're trying to play on words. I mean, you have the same thing down there in the United States, right? The Democrats are trying to take the gun rights away as well. But Tankagi knows what I mean. A literal weasel. There you go.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that commercial is now in the share option.
All right, let's add it to stage.
There it is. All right, here we go.
Haley and Elizabeth are back, and this time the Spuds are really going to fly. Who's wild? And this time the Spuds are really going to fly. In Haley's world, who's wild? And this time the Spuds are really going to fly. are really going to fly.
So that's what a trailer looks like.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, great reception. Clearly.
Okay, I've got a cat alert. Can you guys hold the stream for a minute? I'll be back in a sec.
Cats. Yeah, that took about 4 hours to do, but it was fun putting together. I think I put together Otter one once. It's hard to remember. I work on so much stuff.
I remember you did a Star Shatter one too once.
Did I? Oh, I guess I did.
I think you had. I think it was when Maji did the voiceover for it.
Okay, I remember. If anyone needs a trailer, hit me up. I like making those.
Yeah. But I think the tune actually was like when it was all said and done, I had about 30. You know, it shows you how many people watched for at least 30 seconds of it. And it was mostly on television. It tells you if it was on phone, computer, tablet, or TV. The vast majority of them were on TV. And it was about 3,500 views. So I think between the tune and the arrangement, you know, people at least didn't mind letting it play through or something. And I may not have gotten about a lot of sales out of it, but at least now it's out there in people's heads. They know it exists. It's a start.
Oh, yeah.
But being cost effective, YouTube wasn't the best thing. I'm still glad I did it because it was in front of eyes. That's kind of let it seep in their subconscious, you know. She's a farmer, so it's all about planting the seeds.
That's right.
The seeds of creativity.
Yeah, marketing in itself is a beast in its own right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. The bummer is when when I was making the books, I was like, I want them to become a big deal, but I don't want to be the big deal, you know, because I think look at all the drama surrounding a lot of authors. You talk about Harry Potter, you end up talking about J.K. Rowling. You talk about anything from like Stephen King stuff, you stop talking about his books and start talking about him and stuff like that. I didn't want to be the guy where people are talking about me. I just want to talk about the characters. I wanted to be more like Ian Fleming, where you go around, you ask everybody. Some people will recognize the name, but most won't. But every single one of those people will recognize the name James Bond. That's how I wanted my books to be. But in this day and age, I guess you can't do it that way anymore. You can only get things moving if you make yourself a public personality. So here I am.
Yeah, I mean, we can thank the mainstream for that, right? You know, in the past, you could just, I don't know, submit to a real literary agent that would unbiasedly take a look at your manuscript and see if it had a high quality story without caring about crazy wish list of requirements that have nothing to do with the story.
Yeah, right.
They would mark it
Yeah,
for you.
because I was watching videos on people who actually read the queries, and they said, and it was things why I reject a manuscript within a couple pages, and reasons were political alignments. I was like, if it's not, and it's not just that. It could be completely neutral. That's not good enough. It has to be pushing their political alignment, or else they're going to reject it. So do it myself. I'll go the Thanos route.
It's like, you know, if you were to say the name, you know, K.A. Applegate, most people wouldn't even remember what she wrote necessarily. But you say Animorphs, you're like, oh yeah, Animorphs, that was amazing, right? And that's like you were saying, like it'd be amazing for your book series to be known more so than your own name. But yeah, as an indie, it's like you have to throw your name and in a lot of cases your face or your weasel or your otter out in front of people just to get their attention and to convince them to buy your book. But again,
the
that's
height
Otter's doing it right.
I don't know. The height is a little bit of a problem.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you are an otter on screen and that's all anybody knows you as, it can be an advantage because I like the idea of success. I don't like the idea of fame because people who become famous, they can't even have a random conversation with a stranger in a grocery store line without some news outlet making a big deal out of it and breaking down and analyzing your every word. It's like, that's no way to live. I don't want to be famous.
I think it was Bill Murray who said, "Who wants fame? I would much rather have fortune."
I agree with him.
And be anonymous. Yeah, there's a like, I really admire kind of what you did, Lord Otter, having, you know, your identity around an older plume, you know, pen name, because you really got those two
Don't want to
parts of
sound
your.
like a dick or nothing, but it says on your chart that you're fucked up. You talk like a fag, and your
Fuck
shit's
you,
all
Billy.
retarded.
Yes, fuck you, Billy.
I said my
I should have hid behind Nomad all this time.
the Lord Nomad. No, it doesn't work quite as well.
Yeah, no,
just Nomad.
I would
Oh.
definitely go back to that if I could, like, flip back, but I've gone forward with my real name, and so shall I continue. But it
Yes,
has its
this is
drawbacks.
totally my real name, my birth name.
Yes, I know. Billy Bob Sack.
Why is your surname Sack? That's a little unfortunate.
Is it Sack or is it Bob Sack, or is Bob his middle name?
Well, there's a furniture company called Lovesack, and that's how it's Lovesac. And I guess it's because that's their family name. So names like that do exist.
Read the bottom left. All right.
Of House Ducklock.
Oh, the Ducklocks.
Kapla.
Kapla.
Markwan.
Dude, I'm so happy. I just typed in Duck Klingon. It was one of the ones that popped up, and I was like, you know what? New profile pic.
So what was the context? Where do you find a Duck Klingon drawing like that?
Google images.
No, but like, okay, you didn't check which website it was on, or what was
No.
the context of who drew it?
No, someone it was like two of them. Someone made this. I said, you know what? I like it.
There's everything exists now on the internet. Like, if you can think of it, somebody else has already beat you to it. Has the .com and you know, has images of it out there.
That's why when I go searching for something and it's not there, I'm shocked.
You know, it would have been really unfortunate for you, Frederick, if someone was using your your comic book URL as a porn website. You know.
Well, that's
Really
why
unfortunate.
I went and got the domain names, and I say names plural because I got with an S, not with an S. I got because Ratel is the name of my comic book, and it's a French word for honey badger. So I went and got honeybadgercomic.com as well, just to make sure nobody got the English version of the name either. So I did a little bit of due diligence, and having been a web programmer, I was able to take care of a lot of the web stuff and build a website and do that part. And I also sometimes feel like a crazy man, like doing all the steps from A to Z. It's nice to be able to be self-sufficient like that, but man, it's quite a long list of stuff that needs to get done.
Yeah, who needed sanity anyway? It's much more fun to be a little
right?
crazy.
I mean, no one ever sold a comic because they were sane. Like, hey, do you guys want to read this comic? The author, man, he's so mentally stable. I wanted to ask you another question as well, BA, because you've supported a lot of campaigns. How have you I'm trying to formulate my question here. Do you get any positive surprises sometimes with the fulfillment when you get the package in hand? Like, do some creators go out of their way to make the package like above and beyond?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's some folks that really throw in a lot of extra, goodies, which, having those extra prints and, trading cards and stuff can be really nice, especially if you're, trying to do some sort of, studio setup and you want to, pin up some of your favorite, indie books, art from him or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, the quality of even like the cover stock and things like that can really vary. And yeah, there's some folks that, I mean, it's really a premium book, right, compared to what you would buy in a comic book shop. So yeah, there are folks that, it's kind of just, middle of the road style kind of quality or kind of package. But yeah, some folks, I mean, they really, really go all out. Which that's what's great about being indie, right? Is you have that freedom to take whichever path that you want. And that was one thing that kind of excited me was like, man, I want to get people prints and bookmarks, and I went the route of doing oversized comics and oversized novels
Oh,
because
dude, yeah. The oversized art book is on my list further down the road. Like, I don't think it's appropriate for a first campaign, but I'm definitely keeping I've got that in the
Mhm,
back of my mind. As like, I did a commission for a friend who asked for Lady Death, and it came out beautifully. And he showed me some of the art or covers from that series, and there was a cover where they had pasted little pieces of jewelry on the character,
hmm,
so, like, precision placed little plastic inserts. It's insane
hmm,
what people will do sometimes to go the extra mile and do something that no, like, Marvel or DC would. They throw that idea out in the
mhm,
boardroom where, you'd even self-censor before you'd mention it.
mhm.
And has any of those campaigns that you purchased influenced your own campaign saying, "Okay, I'm gonna add this in. I'm gonna steal this idea or copy this guy"?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I saw a lot of folks prior to doing my campaign throwing in prints in their packages, which inspired me to do the same. And it's also a great tool for in-person events, right? Give those away. Be like, hey, instead of just let's say someone comes up to your table, they're just kind of perusing. As soon as you have a conversation with them and they ask like how much, you can really sweeten the deal for them by being like, "Hey, you can get this book and this book at this cost. I'll throw in 2 or 3 free prints," right? To them, that's like, "Oh, that's really cool. I get some artwork, some extra stuff. Oh, I'll throw in some extra bookmarks." So it's like, they walk away with this bundle of stuff when they at first were thinking of maybe just buying a book. So it really can help you sell your project online, but also in person. And so yeah, I saw some folks doing bookmarks, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do bookmarks, but because my novels are actually comic book size, because I really wanted the art to be appreciated, to do a little bit larger font. And also so that, when you're doing the smaller books, you're really jamming your thumb in the middle of the spine to try to keep it open. It's not real comfortable. I'm like, I'm going to do something unique because we have that ability to do that. And so, yeah, I got different influences from different campaigns, and that spurred other ideas that I did on my campaign and for also in-person events as well. So
And didn't I notice on your campaign that you're even offering like a puzzle?
yeah, yeah, I have a 500-piece puzzle as well as a kind of a custom retro lunchbox. I have aluminum signs as well. I have very large posters, which I actually kind of go the extra mile and I ship them flat in between like hard cardboard substrates because I can't stand. I tried initially. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put them in, and I'm gonna
Roll.
roll them up and
Yeah.
all that. And I'm like, I like as I'm like trying to roll them, I'm cringing, and I'm like, I can't damage these. I'm like, I'm just shipping them flat. So,
Yeah.
Mine came
yeah,
in tubes, and I didn't want to take them out just so I didn't crumple them.
yep. So yeah, no, there's a bunch of stuff. But again, that goes back to using your cover art, using the art from your book to add other things to your campaign. And
Right,
if
right.
people don't buy them or don't back it, it's okay, right? Because you don't need to order your stuff in advance. But if they do, it helps you bring in more money to recover costs for that art. And I was really pleasantly surprised. I kind of just shot for the stars, and I had like I think I had $150 bundle option and then like a $250 bundle option that included, right, some of the aluminum prints, posters, all these different things. And I had like 10 people buy those high priced like bundles because you could get so much stuff and I would give them more prints, more bookmarks. And it's like, if I wouldn't have done that, I mean, I really would have been missing out on funding. And but again, I used that art that was already made for the comic, for the novels, made some other things that people were interested in, and it again, I really, really made the art go a long way. So
That's impressive for a first campaign because, like,
I was surprised.
just putting a campaign together is work in itself, and to be able to find all these variety of products, and I think you got to do that now, right? I heard a saying, I don't know how true it is or not, but they say that even Batman like makes its his they make the money off of the Batman IP from the T-shirts mainly. You know, it's like
Yep.
it's products, it's the side products, and if you just rely on the main thing like the book or the comic, sure you're going to sell some and get some readers, but you're not going to be afloat as much as if you provide a wide choice of products. And some people they want more than the book. Some people want to support you, and they want a piece of history as well. Especially like these indie comics, like there's no guarantee to what their career is going to be like. They could disappear, and you could have a rare piece of something that can't be found anymore, or they could turn out to have like a momentous career, and you have some of the early stuff they did as well. Because the fact that they're indie kind of limits it to a certain number of samples, at least most indies.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, you might be surprised. Some folks may really, really fall in love with the art of your campaign or the characters to where they're like, I want everything. And I tell you, it's so humbling. You know, every time I got an order for one of those big bundles, I was just like, holy crap. I mean, these people are really interested in this IP, and I mean, they spent some hard-earned money, on my IP. Like, I just it was so humbling and made me feel just appreciate the whole process so much because it's just like, man, I never imagined anyone would be not just, that interested in the book, but just interested in everything. It's really it's a cool experience when that happens.
That sounds awesome. I can't wait to be done with my first book in the sense of having it out there and being able to start work on the second one. And I guess you're starting work on your comic as well, so it's an exciting time to. I find that's some of the best. That's the best part, man. When you're right working on the script and everything is possible. Like you got a
Mhm.
whole lot of potential ahead. That's a really sweet spot. Um, Also, when I finish a really slick drawing, that's an also sweet spot.
Mm.
How often or how involved are you with the like in-person events? Like, do you do a bunch a year or a select few?
So I was previously in Reno, so there was not a lot of options because it's in the middle of the desert. And outside of Reno, I mean, you got to drive several hours to get to any other cities. So I did a select few Comic Cons maybe per year, and then a handful of just really small, like art shows and things like that, which they went very, very well, surprisingly. For at the time, I only had novels. That's it. I didn't even have the comic done. And I even found a really popular comic shop, or not comic shop, coffee shop that I went to every week. It was always packed, and I just was like, I went to the owner. I was like, "Hey, would you mind if I just put up a table one Saturday for a couple hours and just, if people come up to me, I can talk to them." And the guy was like, "Oh yeah." I ended up selling like over 30 books doing that.
Wow.
And
Very
it's
nice.
like, you'd be
That's awesome.
surprised. Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised at how some of these really small events or even just pop-up ideas could get people interested in your project, or just to buy your books right out. So, um, and then I've recently moved across the country. Now I'm in the Midwest again, to where there's a lot more potential conventions. So I'm got a couple events lined up for the rest of the year, and then I'll try to really line up a lot for 2025. Now that I have the mini comic to go along with the novels, I'm really excited to do a really large convention and just see what happens. So it's a learning experience, and it's really just trial and error to see how things go. But I've been pleasantly surprised at how well they've went. So
Have you started to meet people who have already read your book or have already heard of you, or is it still you're making new connections at this point? I guess.
yeah, all of my events I did on the west side were prior to the crowdfunding event. So I had a couple people that had bought it in person and then returned to the same event the next year, and it was awesome to actually talk to them about the book and have them come back and buy more books and more merch. So, but I am excited now that it's out there with hundreds of people that I might stumble upon them at conventions and get to actually talk about everything in person, which should be a lot of fun. I mean, you get to do it on streams, but it's a different feeling when you're actually meeting these people in person that helped your book come to life.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And we talked about streams as marketing, but they're also a way to connect with people. I think like connections are made and friendships are formed, and it's a way to hang out with people that you couldn't do before. You just couldn't cross barriers and distances like this before. It's kind of amazing.
What's the most encouraging thing you've heard from somebody when you're at a booth meeting them in person?
Well, actually, the one that really stuck out was I had someone ask me if Corey's artwork was Dale Keown's. Like they came up and they were like, "Holy shit! Did Dale Keown do work on this?" And like I got connected to Corey and Clayton Martin's art because it reminded me of Dale Keown art. I absolutely love.
Oh, nice.
Dale's
Speaking
work.
of Corey Otter, did he
Are you
answer
gonna
about
ask the question
Andromedoid?
now?
Listen.
So there's a bit of a discussion that's been going on between me and Billy. So on top of the artwork he's done for Vigilante's Creed and the artwork he's done for Immortal Rising, there is another series of his that we've caught wind of that Billy has a particular interest in called Andromenoids.
Yep.
Are you familiar with Andromenoids?
Yep.
Yeah. So Billy, go ahead and ask your question. I'll let you ask it.
Where the fuck is it? He done the email earlier this year, and I still haven't heard nothing yet. I'm like, come on, we need it.
Yeah, he's still in the sign-up phase. Yeah, I know Kozar also took a couple of years to get that completed. I think both of those guys might be working 9 to 5s, and then they're doing commissioned art, and then they're using the funds from that to get their books going. So, my guess is they just have so much on their plate that it's a pretty lengthy process. And
you know how
the
we can
detail,
fix that, right?
How's that?
You know how we can fix it, right?
Mm-mm.
We just get some duct tape and everything, find a secluded place,
Hey, we don't suggest sequestering artists here, Billy Bobsack.
But
I don't know.
fixes everything.
He's not suggesting it; he's enforcing it. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell
I'm
you
not
what.
suggesting it, I'm just saying this what needs to happen.
I'm just glad I got out of Tennessee alive.
But like you enforced the whole My Immortal thing.
Wait, hold up.
Anyways,
first of all, Frederick, you gave me some French, incredibly fucked up story graphic novel.
Yes.
I still got to read the rest of it.
Yes, I expect a book
that
report.
graphic novel. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's
Well, you're
what
always
was it?
saying you wanted French bande dessinée, so I
Jesus.
wanted to find one that was translated.
Am I thinking of the right one about the Bigfoot, or is this a different one?
No,
What?
this is so this is kind of, it looks like a fairy
Okay, this is
tale.
something else.
Yeah, it looks like something you might give a younger child, but
just
by the
never
look of
mind.
the art.
I was on a different train of thought.
No,
I remember
no.
the one time. I won't get into it here.
So, but don't let the art fool
I'm
you
so
because
confused.
it's actually very it's kind of a dark subject matter because it's like little tiny elf creatures living in the forest, and they stumble on a cadaver of a young girl, I believe. And it's this weird story about how finding that corpse enriches the elves because they start, looting it and all that. And it's very, very strange, but well done. And I'm curious to see your take on the story once you've read it.
I still gotta read it. I'll read it. Maybe
It is,
sometime next.
yeah, it is quite unusual. Unfortunately, I didn't have a huge variety of choice. It's hard to find bande dessinée that's translated into English, man.
Which
it's
is a little
not.
disappointing because they can make like a decent chunk of change by doing it.
Yeah, I think the markets are so different because, especially right now, the American market is kind of shifting because it used to have, it kind of came out of the newspaper strips, and then you have these throwaway comics they called floppies, which became collectibles, and then it's slowly moving into graphic novels, and now you have hardcover graphic novels that are even finding their way into bookstores. And that's the European market, and it always has been the hardcover and bookstores model. So I kind of feel like the American market is turning into the European market, or a hybrid of its former self. It's kind of strange. It seems to be suffering identity crisis at the moment.
Well, I mean, you're kind of seeing it with how indies do it,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with Razor Fist and George. Like their model is, their book is straight out of European market. It looks like an art book. It's well done from hardcover to, it's just a beautiful hardcover piece.
Well, in general, I see the bande dessinée style of comics and storytelling just as an untapped market here in the West. I think there's a lot of potential there and quite a bit of demand, in my personal opinion. It's just I don't know if it's the case where things aren't properly set up just yet, or if there just needs to be the right connections as well. But for whatever reason, it just hasn't taken off, at least at the moment, in the same capacity that anime and manga has.
Right. There's a few exceptions. Like I know there's a series called Sad.
Black Sad?
Black Sad, right? That one made it through. That one has pierced the veil somehow and is in the market and is known. But it's very rare. Like there's so many great books that you guys would just go ape shit for, and it's just not available if you can't read it.
Well, I just burnt through $10 worth of AI video credits the last 20 minutes. Still expensive.
Was it worth it?
Some of the scenes were. When I first was doing video AI like a week ago, no, because I didn't really know what I was doing. But now that I know the limitations of the program, what it's good at, what it's bad at, most of the scenes are turning out all right.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Are you going to give us a hint what you're specifically doing?
Yes. Let me
Can you share something, or is it private?
Yeah, give me a second now.
Did you sign an NDA with yourself?
No,
Did you almost NDA yourself?
Not this
Oh my
time,
God. Hold up.
Damn, I almost NDA'd myself.
And there it is.
Nice.
You can thank Otter for the sound effects.
He's blaming you,
What a
Otter.
perfect time for
Sure,
my
blame the
connection
water
to kick
weasel.
back in.
What'd you say, Frequency?
I said, what a perfect time for my connection to kick back in.
See, that was funny last night. Literally, so I was lagging really bad last night on StreamYards. And Frequency like just introduced me and stuff, and I came back right then, right when it happened. Like perfect timing.
Oh yeah, I remember. Like he introduces you at Billy Bob Sack, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm lagging," but it was right on cue. Like we didn't feel the lag, so it's kind
Yeah,
of
because I came back literally right when he was saying that. I was like, oh,
right on cue, man. It's like Gandalf, never late, never early, exactly.
Always on time.
Captain Garrett talked about, he watched like the first 3 episodes of season 2 of Rings of Power.
Oh boy.
Just how bad it is, like with the orc family.
That's so stupid. I gave a brief retort to somebody on Twitter who was defending that, saying like, since they're God, what was the argument even? It was some case for saying, well, it's more realistic that orcs should, since it was established by Tolkien himself that they had families. Clearly, this is something that the fans are just going in a conniption about. And my retort was, these guys are elves corrupted by Melkor, this world's variant on Lucifer. I doubt that paints a positive family image.
So, in other words, like if they were a family, and
I don't know, that feels like a citation needed sort of statement.
Yeah, but I think it'd be more of a dysfunctional family. They'd be yelling at each other, blaming each other. Everything. Each of them have a addiction. They're hiding from one another. But no, they're together. There's no way that orc is a single mother orc. That's all I'm saying.
Just the image that comes up whenever you see it is even funnier, because it's not like some type of warm kind of like family image. They're like fucking like Urukai looking orcs, where it's like they look mean, but one of them has dreadlocks for whatever reason, because to make connections that I would rather not make with fantasy orcs. And yeah, so that kind of happened.
Now I'm just imagining an Urukai just sitting there doing a floral arrangement or something.
Complaining about the economy.
That's pretty cool there, James. I'm looking at the clip you got running right now. That's kind of cool. AI is really good for magic, right?
Yeah, I'm to a degree. I didn't want it to look so fiery, but it came out decently.
The hands look like normal hands.
yeah. The first one didn't have normal hands, so this is a second time generation. Yeah, but it's really good for. That's actually part of the entire image that I'm putting together, because the image was bigger than the given resolution, so I had to what do you call it? Just crop it downwards and get this section of the hand, and then I made another section where it's getting his face. And I'm gonna put them like one right next to each other, kind of make it a nice little sequence there.
Make it look like Trippy and he's inhaling the fumes from that thing.
Oh, don't do that to my lore.
Oh, so that's what's happening with the book. It's like it's a way of getting high. Like it's like, okay, let me open my book now. Oh, I've got the fumes coming in.
So that's what they mean whenever they say high magic.
There you go.
High magic. Oh man, that's good.
So that's pretty good for that, and it's also good for landscape shots. Just when I had up for a little while.
Yeah, I'm looking at that as well. The mountains, as long as you don't have like people walking with their feet on the ground, because that has a tendency to slide. Kind of like the video games have the same issue as well.
Mm-hmm.
Except Fallout, they put excessive hours for the character not to slide. But I digress.
Yeah.
Oh, nice fade out as well.
Thank you.
So, are we looking at your real face, James, or is this an AI
is
as
the
well?
face.
Okay.
This is the face.
Okay.
This is the face. Yeah.
Just checking.
Is it AI or James I?
Well, it would be James I, like James Intelligence.
Yeah, so that's $4, or was it? No, it was $10 got me about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips that I could use. Each of them about 5 seconds long. Well, no, it gave me about 7. There's a few others that I just didn't have in this folder.
And there's some reuse value as well, right?
Absolutely. It's a lot of yeah, this one actually came out pretty decent, I think.
Let me ask you the same question I asked BA earlier. Do you ever have any surprises in the AI art that you then incorporate in your story, or do you just write those off as kind of accidents or it being wrong or whatever?
Sometimes I wouldn't say necessarily incorporate it within my story because you know, the story in itself is more around action, and a lot of the AI is just straight visual. So you know, that's just the way things look. But you know, there've been great pieces I've taken and I given to you as reference material, and you help bring those to life.
Yeah.
So then, in a way, yes, I guess so. Here's another little shot that I got there. Came out decent.
Oh,
That is cool looking.
That is a forest you'd never see in real life.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
that's gonna be in the novella I'm writing right now. So I'm glad to have it.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Yeah, dude, going back to what you said, when you gave me some AI resources, I did some. So it was basically AI medieval armor, but it wasn't based on the classical shapes of medieval armor. It was very alien because of the AI nature. And it was super interesting to be drawing these different uniforms than what we're used to seeing, right? So there's an alien quality to it that makes it really otherworldly that, you know, as a trade-off, it could be interesting.
Well, I think there's a lot you can do there with horror as well. I think there's untapped potential there.
I was wondering, like,
character panning shot,
because obviously AI can do horrific melting creatures perfectly.
Yes.
It's like it does that accidentally anyways. But
yes,
does the
Hey, you could simulate a bad acid trip or something.
but does the uncanny valley of the AI break that effect? Like, is it? It's kind of like CGI in a horror movie can turn people off because it's too plasticky.
Yeah,
kind of feels that sometimes we get that from AI art as well.
Possibly.
If it breaks, or if we, you know, if it has one of those telling elements from AI, like the sixth finger, you know, the different shape stuff.
Here's a horror one that
man.
I think it would be really great for concept art for movie makers, I think.
I can't believe how well it does the camera movement as well, because the background,
the panning is good.
Yeah, the background barely breaks. Like you see a little bit of waves in the pipes, but if you're focusing on the foreground, you don't notice it at all. It looks perfect.
Yeah, and I do the way that it works so well is because I make the images in another AI program, then I import them and they use the images as a reference, and you can set them as the first frame or the last frame, and you give the appropriate prompt. So I could just start importing my fantastic images in and messing with them.
Really building on a collection of images at some point.
Yeah, that's and it's good to, you know, sell the world, show people where all the stories take place, and have some motion to it, even if it is limited. It's better than nothing.
I do kind of miss your lore cards, though.
Dude,
Go ahead, Frederick.
No, sorry, I couldn't help myself from thinking back to, because you were saying you were going to have an audiobook version of your story come out on YouTube eventually, right? It would look so fucking kick-ass to have some of those AI images as you're listening to the audiobook as well.
I definitely thought of that. Because, you know, visuals, the more you add, especially when you're dealing with video, you know, the longer you're going to keep people's attention, and the more fans you're just going to get in general. Because you widen your audience more. Here's a much more fantastical landscape shot that I got. Oh, well, that's just my face. Give me a second. I have to.
It's incredible.
Play. Not even once. This one I thought came out all right. There's a little bit of
Yeah.
morphing, but not too much.
Mighty Morphin.
Mighty Morphin.
That's
So it's
dope.
it's pretty good with the landscape shots like that.
I love also the monochrome quality to it. It's all
Mhm.
orange. It's beautiful.
That harsh orange.
It could
Yeah.
be Mars, could be another planet.
Definitely. So I'm getting as much landscape shots more than anything to introduce the separate locations. You know, some of them are gonna be much more difficult than others because ultimately, as you may or may not know, I'm selling the entire world. You know, all the stories take place in the exact same world, and it's beyond diverse with a lot of different locations. And this is just going to help it come to life more.
Did you say you're selling the entire world?
Yeah, it's not like that.
You're not selling
Not
it to
real
Disney, I
estate.
hope. Yeah.
No, not like that. I'm
Are
selling
you
it to your
sure?
heart. Keep you up at night thinking about my world.
That's good.
Get some fanfic writers there. That's when you know you've succeeded as a world builder. You get the fanfic writers.
All right. Yeah, I think we're kind of the chill time. Wouldn't you say, Billy Bobsack?
Yes.
All right. So we've come to the end of our show, and it's time to basically, one and all, shill our own wares, as we say. But first, we have a shill time intro. So let's go.
Convoy, 12 o'clock, on my command! Deploy! Okay now. Little off course here. Ooh, holy mommy fucking shit!
Oh, there they are. Look at these gorgeous sons of bitches.
All right. All right. Well, let's start with our guests here tonight. B.A. Turner, can you tell the good people where they can find you and what to expect in the future?
Yeah, you can check out my Vigilantes Creed campaign on either FundMyComic or Indiegogo.com. As mentioned, there's 2 novels and a mini comic about a gargoyle and a team of vigilantes fighting terror in Detroit. Essentially, if you were to think about Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns mixed with Hellboy, that would give you a good idea of the level of grit and the supernatural lore that you can expect with the storyline. And yeah, currently working on the comic script for the first full issue, and hopefully we'll have that starting crowdfunding hopefully in the next year. The more that this current campaign raises, the quicker the comic issue will come to life, and the more that can be completed before I actually initiate the crowdfunding. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Wrangler? Where can the good people find you, and what are you working on?
I think he might be lagging.
We'll wait for the
Wrangler.
internet to get over there.
Okay, yeah, everybody froze for a second. I wasn't sure where we were.
Mighty Laggin' Power Rangers.
Yep. Well, actually, I say everybody froze. In reality, I froze, I guess. But yeah, you can find my stuff on Amazon or pretty much anywhere online where books are sold. Check out Bad Kitty, Haley Star Bad Kitty, and Bad Kitty Haley's World. Good sci-fi fueled Magic Fueled Sci-Fi Adventure, a lot of fun. And you can find me on Substack, Frequency Studios, and also Frequency Studios on the X Twitter, Minds, and Truth. And there's also a merch store where you can get Haley t-shirts and all that stuff. Teespring.
Nice. And James?
All right, I'm James Esparza, creator, owner, and operator of World Without End. I'm currently working on a lovely little novella, which will be hopefully coming out early next year. I'm going to finish up the first draft this month. And I am also working on a short story to be released this October for Halloween, something spooky for you guys to read. You can find all my literary stuff at worldwithoutend.substack.com. And if you want to find out more about this world I'm writing about, you can find that out at worldwithoutend.com. And since the Lord Otter up there has mentioned Power Rangers, I'm going to go even deeper in on the shill. If you like Power Rangers, I also operate a Soulless AI music channel, and you can check out my brand new Power Rangers song about the Green Ranger at James_E on YouTube or at Soulless AI. Just look up Soulless AI. I dominate that category. All my stuff will come up. I'm at 600 and I think it's 600 and something 7 subscribers. Help me get the 700 soon. I can use your support. And I got music on there you'll like. I just finished like 8 Cobra Kai songs, finishing up my like 5th Power Rangers song. And the very first Power Rangers song, Mighty Morphin, has reached over 100,000 views. Go find out.
Nice.
Yes.
Congrats,
yes,
man. That's
it's
cool.
still getting views. It's the only thing keeping the channel alive right now. I look at it, it's crazy.
The Green Ranger is the only Ranger as far as I'm concerned.
Fantastic, man.
I wonder who defeated him.
And Lord Otter.
Well, I am currently working on editing up book 2 of Steel and Stormbright as we speak. Kind of back on the subject of art, I am currently commissioning Corey Barton as well as a few other artists for the artwork in the second book. In the meantime, you can find the Curse of the Star Raids on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the big retailers. I also have a YouTube channel where I'm usually just streaming or on these types of podcasts with everyone else, usually talking creative stuff or gaming.
And Billy Bob.
You can find me on Only Gremlins on Substack.com. By October, I'll have a story done.
Sweet.
Nice.
Do it.
Sweet.
I was thinking towards the end of October we'll do instead of an art stream, it'll be an art scream, and we'll have it focused on horror movies or something. That'd be nice.
Sometime in
Do it
October, we're
now.
going to be doing some
Another
type of
art
horror
chill, right?
Halloween.
So we're doing, because you have art streams as well on your stream, on your channel. I mean, we'll be doing another one soon, I guess. Eh?
That's right. Spooky season is coming up.
Yeah.
Maybe I should put my Shores of Gehenna short story
We
up on
do
something.
those when we have
The
time.
most wonderful time of the year. Wait, wrong holiday.
I bet we had a really fun one the last Saturday. Last week.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I love those. And
Okay.
imakecomics.com is the URL that'll take you to Ratel Comic, which is the website of my current comic book project, Ratel #1, story of the first Bitcoiner superhero, and set in Montreal, which is pretty close to Detroit in a sense. It's just on the other side of the Great Lakes in a way. So probably 4-6 hours drive maybe between the two cities. And,
Wait, so
yeah,
I got a question for you, Frederick.
hit me.
All right. So is eventually one of the main big villains going to be Mr. Blackface, and his initials are going to be JT?
Yeah.
Listen, you signed an NDA, Billy Bob. You can't speak about these things.
What about Black Tarzan?
Laura,
Black Tarzan will eventually come.
I need to get you to sign an NDA as well.
Hey, I'm not going to NDA myself.
But our country is blessed to have the extraordinary talent, energy, and genius represented in this room. It really is great genius. Not all of you, but most of you. Many of you.
All right.
That's my mind on that Bilbo Baggins speech right before he left the Shire.
Yep.
It kind of is, yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. That's it for our show. And join us next week where we're going to continue our fantastic work on art and writing and creativity. So stay tuned. Goodbye.
The sun has gone to bed, and so must I. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
And our outro.
Have a good time with your Bitcoin and your crypto and everything else that you're playing with.